Hey guys, how's it going? Dutchman Games here. Today we're going to continue working on our large open world level. And as you can see, there's still a lot of work to be done. And what I wanted to make for this episode is a quaint little small village that would run here with a little river. So you'd have a little river, maybe even one that would separate this area with this one, kind of turning this into a cape, and then we'd make a nice little village here, and then we'd also start adding some foliage and getting the terrain right, so adding some different textures and just making it look a little bit better. So yeah, let's jump right into that. All right, so first of all, we're going to make the river. Also, what I want to add today is a fog surrounding the area to make it look a little bit better. I forgot to say that. But let's just jump right in to adding a little river. So there's an easy way we can do this. We could just take the sculpt, take a flatten, and then make it a little bit stronger and a little bit bigger. And mind you, this is already quite large, right? So from close up, you would have all the foliage and it'd look a lot better. But it's already quite a large area, so we can just take this and go through this. Now, as you can see, it becomes a really steep cliff. The grass will despawn, but it'll become a really steep cliff. So we have to be kind of like careful with how we do this. Too steep, it's just not gonna look nice. So let's remove that with Ctrl Z, and then let's go to a smaller area. And then maybe from here we start the river. So we can make the river go something like this. And then again, it becomes pretty steep. We'll work with that later. And then the river will go something like that. And then it will go back into the sea right here. As you can see, these are way too steep. So what we're going to do, we're going to smooth everything up. And then that way, and slowly, so let's not cover up the river, but if we do this long enough, we will actually smooth it down to a point where it will become a nice low area. And we can rebuild the river after we do this. Now it's okay maybe for this area to have like a little bit of a cliff face. So let's just smooth all this down. And then we can even flatten this like this. Speed up the process a little. Kind of keep it small, and then just smooth this down. Kind of have that smooth area. This will still be quite the hill, right? It's fine. It's okay for it to be a little hilly. So let's actually kind of smooth that out, and then again we will take the flatten and then flatten this like that, and then now it's okay to keep that hill, that cliff in there, and then maybe something like this. And then we can smooth this out once it's large enough. So now we can kind of smooth this out a little bit. It will be a little jagged like that, which is just because it's quite large. So actually, let's make this a little bit kind of like that. And then we have a lot more space to smooth it out. And then the jaggedness should fix itself over time. Need to give it a second here. And then we can take the water and we can raise it slightly. There we go. So we can even raise it a little bit more. Just to be very careful because this could go really fast. Yeah, increment it. Ah, there we go. That's good. All right, so this will, go away by itself as we load the game again. It should at least. Otherwise, we can. What we can do is we can take the landscape and we can just repaint it. So, for example, we can go to paint and then select the layer with no plants. Make the brush size really big. Go over this. And then get the layer with plants back and then go over it again. It should fix the issue. It does not. Why does it not do that? Oh, because the brush size needs to be even bigger. For some reason it doesn't reach this. Yeah, no, I think it will just fix, this will fix itself eventually. So let's just assume it will. Now something you probably noticed is that we don't really have a beach look. What I like to do is I like to take, what you can do is you can take the layer with no plants and then use it as a beach for now until we get better layers. And it will be something like this, right? And so the village will be right here, and we need the assets for it. So let's go look up some assets. Okay, so what I'm going to use is the Game Asset Factory's Medieval Houses Modular 2, which is paid. This used to be free one day, that's why I have it. But, feel free to buy it. It's not that expensive for the amount of assets you're getting, and they're really nice. So, yeah, it even has a little pier, which would be great for what we're going to use. So, these are great assets, and I highly recommend them. I'm not endorsed by them, okay? But I do recommend it. I do think they're great assets. Alright, so I quickly reloaded, and that fixes the issue. So now we have a more clearer view of what we can do. So let's get to let's get back to where we were. So what we need to do is we need to make this path, and we'll go to paint, make it smaller again, and then go to, I think it was this one, and then we're going to, oh, that's too big, a little bit smaller, and then we're just going to make a little path, and this is the path that the village will lead or have, and then here it will actually have like a little pier, and here will be a few buildings or whatever, and then this will be the main road that will lead people out of the village and lead them into the wide world. Alright, so this is the main road of the game, and you can make it bigger or smaller. You can actually do one of these sometimes and make it a little interesting. There we go. It's a small village, it's nothing crazy, and actually might lead on a little further for another house over here. And then also what we need to do is we need to flatten it a little bit. So we will flatten it, and then we'll deal with, again, you'll have the floating grass, but we need to do this, otherwise the houses will look weird, and it's also pretty cool to have a little bit of a cliffside, I think. I think that just looks nice. We can flatten all this together, have a little bit of a cliff face, and then also smooth some areas out. So this can be smoothed out. This also must be smoothed out because the path, and then other than that, you could have, well, actually you can smooth all this out, and then over here you'll have a little bit of a, oh look, now the grass did it by himself because it's not that big a deal. There you go. And then we'll have a little cliff face here, which is pretty cool. And we can actually fill it up with rock, make it look even better. Alright, so let's go to the medieval environment. And then from here we can put down all the buildings. So let's go to selection mode, and make this a little bit bigger so we can see what we're doing. So what I would like to do now, I just would like to start just putting down buildings. So we can look up house, and then it should have the finished buildings up and top. And here are some more buildings actually. So if we type in Viking house, there we go. So here we have a lot of finished buildings. And we can also put down one unfinished one maybe. But for now, let's put down some finished buildings. So I'm actually wondering how big it will look, because I feel like these houses are pretty big. Might take a minute to load here, because it needs to get the assets ready. So let's give it a minute. Alright, here we go. We have our first house, and this is not too bad. Let's put this on a local space, and then this will be our first house. And this could be maybe the inn or something, I don't know. I don't know what the idea is behind that. I also don't know how many people will be living here. And once we put down the original first house, these houses should be loading a little bit faster, because they're using the same assets. So this should be fine. But I could be wrong. It could just take long. And I think it will take, yeah, about as long. So now we can put down this house and actually put down another one just like it over here. Actually, it's maybe more cool to put it over here. Just have a little bit of differences in housing. And it kind of looks weird right now, but once these are all placed, the lighting is done, there'll be trees and everything, it's gonna look awesome. So the longhouse, which is like, you know, the capital building of the village, will be over here. I think that's gonna look great. Also, this really shows you how large this map actually is. And for the people who are building their own world based on this, or their own island with their own stuff, please go to the Discord and show me what you built, because I'm super excited to see what you guys have made with my videos. So this will be the longhouse, and then there's an issue with this one, is that the grass will probably go a little bit through the floor, and not just the grass, everything will go through the floor. So we're going to flatten this out like that, and then we're going to get the no plants layer and just throw it over here. So we don't want any plants in here because it looks weird. There's plants coming through the boards, basically. I don't want that. No, thank you. Alright, cool. So that'll be the longhouse, which will be the capital building essentially, and then we have a few smaller buildings as well. And yeah, it'll just be like a small little village. We will add foliage as well. Of course, a map this large, once it's completely finished, is going to be extremely heavy to run. So in due time, we'll also have to make sure that everything is covered by LODs and that everything looks, you know, just right. So we have another house over here. We're actually going to close this one up so we don't have to, you know, worry about the plants. And this one we're going to do that. So you can actually take it and then fold it inside out essentially. And what that will do is it will mirror it, which makes it look a little bit different. Another house over here, and then another one like these over here. And then this could be the fisherman house or the dock house or whatever. Because, and then over here there will be a house that's unfinished that they're still building. Because I think that's pretty cool. And then the dock could be on the other side, and then we could also put a boat there. I don't know if we have a boat, but if we have a boat, that'd be pretty cool. Because then we could put a boat there, as if it's like the harbor, or like the entrance of this. So look, they're actually building like a huge house over here, but it's not finished. So we could put a little bit in the floor, and that's just cool to see. So, and then over here, we can make the, I don't know, do they call it a pier? They don't call it a pier. Dock, maybe? Not a dock either. Go look through here. They call it bridge, which I guess, okay, fair enough. I guess it's a bridge. Alright. So, we can turn around, and yeah, we can actually also make a bridge go. You know what? Let's actually do that. Actually make a bridge here. Like that. And we just gotta make this work. And then also pretty low. And then also we want a pier, of course, which would be over here then, I guess. Kind of like that. Which would be the pier. And then the dock house would be over here. And is that too big? That's too big at this building. Like that. Oh my. A lot lower than I thought. And like that. And then what we can do is we can go to the landscape because we need to adjust a few things anyway. And we need to flatten this out a little. So this makes a little bit more sense. And then we need to also flatten this out a little. Oh my. Move it out. There we go. So now we have a bridge over here. Leads to this area. Let's go to paint and go to the layer with no plants. Make this seem logical. And then also here there could be a road leading to, I don't, something, building, a relic, I don't know. So now that we have this little village here, let's add some trees. And we're just going to do that by hand because these are trees that you know what, no, let's actually go to the foliage and let's actually add trees in here. So we're going to use, I think we have pines. Yeah, we have a lot of nice looking pines, so let's just throw all these pines in here and then select them all. No, select half of them, and then these will have a hull distance of 25,000 max, and then these other ones will have a hull distance of 80,000. So what this does is that this distance, it will disappear. So we're doing that because we don't want it to basically destroy our computer because we're gonna have so many. We can always adjust this, so we're gonna also say align to normal to untrue, I think, because we want it to not look weird. So let me show you what I mean. So let's say we have a density of 2 per cubic whatever. Is this actually doing anything? I don't think it is. Let's wait, yeah, it's not even adjusting for some reason. There we go. So as you can see, as I do this, they are straight. So they're straight. But let's say I turn off the align to normal, they'll be like that. And that's not how a tree acts naturally. Okay, so we want them to be straight. So what we can do is, for example, we do this. That's nice, right? But this will actually kill our computer. Okay, if we do this to the whole map. So we're going to make the density a lot lower, so 3. And then we're just going to make patches of trees. So not everywhere, just in some places. And as you can see, the further I go away, they'll start disappearing. And then they'll reappear, and then eventually they'll just be gone. So if I go to lit mode, you can see a little bit better. So you can see the trees over there. If you see, they will disappear, and then the other trees will appear to get even closer. So let's add some trees. Make it look nice. Add some trees over here, some trees over here. In here, we can add a lot more because this is the place where the player is going to be mostly. Right? This is. We can even close it off a little bit with invisible walls or whatever. Whatever you want to do. But this is a nice location, and then up here is just going to be a lot of trees everywhere. The nice thing about this landscape, and that's why I chose it, is because it already has grass in it, which makes it easy for us. We don't have to worry about placing small trees and foliage and all that stuff. So these trees are now set here. Good. So now we just need to add small things. We got a lot of assets in this pack, or in this project now, because we're using this project for YouTube. So we have all the assets that I've put in this project previously to other videos. So we have a lot of rocks and everything. If you don't have rocks, you can just find some rocks. In the environmental pack that we're using in this, there's rocks. There's rocks basically in every environmental pack on Epic. So you just need to find some rocks. That's it. So just type in rock, and then we just need to place a few rocks. Rocks are super important for a well-diverse look of the area. So you just want to place a few rocks randomly, because randomly is often the best when it comes down to nature. It doesn't, you know, if you're going to place everything super clearly, and it, you know, if everything has to make sense, then it's not going to look good. Essentially is what I'm saying. You need rocks to just be there. You know, even if they're kind of like in the way, that's okay. For example, in this, you can just make it really big. And upscaling is fine if you do it like this. You don't want to upscale too much. When you're getting really close, it's going to look ugly, but you know, a player's not really going to get close to this wall, to this rock face. Not really. They might, you know, if they're curious. But if they're that curious, then, you know, they don't mind seeing it look weird, because they assume that it's not going to be as nice looking as the rest of the map, because it's not a place where a player should go, and that's fine. And then we can just plunk down some more rocks on the sides. You know, put a rock here maybe, put one here, make it bigger, put one over there, invert it, you know, so they look different from each other, and then put one more over here or something like that. Just do something with it. And then as we put down the rocks, we can look at some other trees that we can. So just to have a little bit, you know, of a different fauna or flora. So I don't know what this is going to look like. That looks wonderful. So let's just put a few of those. Put a few trees down here that are a little bit different than the pines, just to give it a little bit more of a shine. Especially here, it looks nice. And then turn them around a little bit so they look a little different from each other. And then now what we need to do is we need to just make it look a little bit better, because we have a very bright light, and you know, we have all this stuff going on. First of all, let's grab all of the things we placed and we're going to put them in a folder. And this folder is going to be, I don't know, environment. And you can also like put the houses in a different folder, but yeah, for now, let's just do that. And then take all these things and then put these in a folder called main. So important things like the lighting and the foliage and the landscape and the player start and all that stuff. I like to put them in the same one. So we have a skylight, we have a directional light. Let's add some fog. So we're going to look up fog, and then we're going to find exponential height fog. And we're going to put that down, and we're going to go to all here, and we're going to say that the fog needs to be white, and the density needs to be a little bit less, and then maybe make it even a little bit greenish or yellowish. I kind of like to play with the colors a little, and that already makes it look a million times better. It just is. Now what we need to do is we need to add a post-process volume, and what this does, it will change the way everything looks. Make the scale 880,000 by 80,000 by 80,000 so it will encompass the whole world. You can also make it global, but this is that's the same thing. And then we are going to change a little bit of the bloom. I'm going to add a little bit of bloom, so you can add a lot or a little low. But we're going to add a little. The exposure, we're going to actually make the exposure static. Now, not a lot of people do this. They will keep it open. So change a lot. Naturally, when we go into buildings, it's going to change a lot. But for now, let's just keep it a little bit static. So the max exposure will be 0. Actually 0 minus a half, and then the minimum will be 2. So then now when you go into building, there's still going to be a difference, but it's not going to be that big a deal. And it's just going to look nice. You know, there's going to be lighting in there anyway. So there's still some medieval assets that we can place when we go to the medieval props pack. We have some assets like some barrels and some crates and all that stuff. We're going to do that in the next episode. So for now, I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I think we made a pretty cute little village here. We added quite some landscape materials. We added some trees, and we added some dynamic lighting and some post-processing and fog. Now, if we zoom out, you can see how massive this map really is. This could be the beginning town, kind of like Sedanin in Morrowind. Maybe you can arrive on here, you know, and it's just going to be a lot of fun to do. Again, if we were to spawn in, we're actually our character that we made in the past. It's not loading its textures right now, but this is the character with all its abilities and stuff. And as you can see, we can walk around, we can go into these buildings, and it's just going to be really, really cool to see all this worked. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, thanks. Bye-bye.